first in all areas of our lives, including business stewardship, accountability, fellowship, and prayer. If I can be of any help to you in any way, forming a small group, securing a venue, having content for small group meetings, please contact me at menandworkministry@gmail.com. Well, thanks for tuning in today. Last week, we went through Daniel chapter 1, and if you recall, there was 3 things I pulled from Daniel chapter 1 as he was seeking to eat a diet in Babylon contrary to the food from the king's table. And those 3 keys were, first, he respectfully asked for permission. Second, he allowed God to grant favor in the sight of who the individual overseeing him, and then allowed the results to govern the outcome. So this week, as I was considering what to do for content and having a discussion with my wife, she suggested that I just keep going through the book of Daniel. And I said, well, hey, look, I am not nearly sure enough of myself and my understanding to go through the entire book of Daniel. And like many conversations with my wife where I don't want to do something, I usually end up doing it. So here we are, week 2, and we're going through the first half of Daniel chapter 2. As I look at the book of Daniel, specifically the first half of chapter 2, I keep coming back to one overall takeaway, and I believe it's all about wisdom. And when you're talking about wisdom, keep in mind, wisdom and knowledge are 2 separate things. You can have a lot of knowledge about this world and still be unwise. Psalm 111 verse 10 states the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. And that's how Proverbs 1:7 starts. Again, the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. And then it goes on to say, Proverbs 1:7, fools despise wisdom and instruction. So when you start with the fear of God, you realize that God is the source of wisdom. In my Ryrie Study Bible message notes under Proverbs 1, chapter 1, verse 7, it states in the commentary, the motto of the wisdom teachers and theme of this book is that the fear of the Lord is the starting point and the essence of wisdom. Fear of the Lord is a reverence for God expressed in submission to his will. Wisdom is not acquired by a mechanical formula, but through a right relationship with God. Fools, easily led, gullible, silly persons, those who are both mentally naive and morally irresponsible. So if you think of it like this, wisdom comes from God. Being a fool is living apart from God. So with that bearing in mind, let's start reading in Daniel chapter 2. We're going to read verse 1 through verse 23 today. Now in the 2nd year of the reign of Nebuchadnezzar had dreams, and his spirit was troubled, and his sleep left him. Then the king gave orders to call in the magicians, the conjurers, the sorcerers, and the Chaldeans to tell the king his dreams. So, Nebuchadnezzar has disturbing dreams, and his first instinct is to rely on the things of this world, meaning people who are perceived to be wise, but actually aren't, because they are not walking with God. This comes up so many times in my own life, in my own walk, where a problem arises, and the first thing I do is to seek my own understanding, or seek understanding from those people around me, and maybe it's in a work environment where they may or may not be walking with God. There's certain people out there that we perceive to have wisdom because they're intelligent, or they're reasonably successful in their careers. But really, we need to be seeking counsel from those that we know are walking with God. So, first thing Nebuchadnezzar does, he has these dreams, and he's seeking counsel from those that are perceived to be wise. Um, and so, this group of conjurers, sorcerers, and Chaldeans came in and stood before the king. The king said to them, verse 3, I had a dream, and my spirit is anxious to understand the dream. Then the Chaldeans spoke to the king in Aramaic. O king, live forever. Tell the dream to your servants, and we will declare the interpretation. So, tell us what you dreamed, and anybody could make up an interpretation. But the king wasn't having it. The king stated, verse 5, the king answered and said to the Chaldeans, the command for me is firm. If you do not make known to me the dream, so tell me the dream I had, and its interpretation, you will be torn limb from limb, and your house will be made a rubbish heap. But if you do declare the dream to me, so tell me what it is I dreamt, and its interpretation, you will receive from me gifts and reward and great honor. Therefore, declare to me the dream and its interpretation. Oh, shoot, is what these counselors were thinking to themselves. They're thinking, this is impossible. How do we know what in the heck this guy dreamt about? So again, verse 7, they answered him. They answered a second time and said, let the king tell the dream to his servants, and we will declare the interpretation. The king answered and said, I know for certain that you are bargaining for time, inasmuch as you have seen that the command from me is firm, that if you do not make the known dream to me, there is only one decree for you have agreed together to speak lying and corrupt words before me until the situation is changed. Therefore tell me the dream, that I may know that you can declare to me its interpretation. And here's where they throw up their hands and say, we can't do it. Verse 10, the Chaldeans answered the king and said, there is not a man on earth who could declare the matter for the king, inasmuch as no great king or ruler has ever asked anything like this of any magician, conjurer, or Chaldean. Moreover, the thing which the king demands is difficult, and there was no one else who could declare it to the king except God's, whose dwelling place is not with mortal flesh. So what you're asking us to do is impossible. Remember, in Luke 18:27, Jesus said that the things that are impossible with people are possible with God. And that's exactly what we're going to see, that Daniel speaks up, and with consultation with the Lord, he is given wisdom and is able to apply that wisdom to the situation. So let's watch this. Because of this, verse 12, because of this, the king became indignant and very furious and gave orders to destroy all the wise men of Babylon. So the decree went forth that the wise men should be slain, and they looked for Daniel and his friends to kill them. So we can assume Daniel and his friends, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, were not among this group that the king was already asking to declare this dream and interpret it for him. So, as we see in verse 14, then Daniel replied with discretion and discernment to Arioch, the captain of the king's bodyguard, who had gone forth to slay the wise men of Babylon. He answered and said to Arioch, the king's commander, for what reason is the decree from the king so urgent? Then Arioch informed Daniel about the matter. So Daniel went in and requested of the king that he would give him time in order that he might declare the interpretation to the king. Then Daniel went to his house and informed his friends, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, about the matter. Remember from chapter 1, those three are given Babylonian names, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. So Daniel finds out the issue. Now he's going to seek counsel from godly men. And, this is key. So Proverbs 13:20, the wisest man who ever lived, King Solomon, in Proverbs 13:20 wrote, "He who walks with wise men will be wise, but the companion of fools will suffer harm." So you had the one group of conjurers, sorcerers, Chaldeans, none of whom were walking with God. They're fools. Daniel, on the other hand, goes and consults in kind of brings into the conversation his three friends that are walking with God. So remember, they do have the fear of the Lord, and that plays out all throughout the rest of Daniel. So let's see the difference in how this plays out now that there's individuals involved that understand that God is the source of wisdom. All right, so verse 18. So he informed his friends Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah about the matter in order that they might request compassion from the God of heaven concerning this mystery, so that Daniel and his friends might not be destroyed with the rest of the wise men of Babylon. Then the mystery was revealed to Daniel in a night vision. Then Daniel blessed the God of heaven. Daniel answered and said, "Let the name of God be blessed forever and ever, for wisdom and power belong to him. It is he who changes the times and the epochs. He removes kings and establishes kings. He gives wisdom to wise men and knowledge to men of understanding. It is he who reveals the profound and hidden things. He knows what is in the darkness, and the light dwells with him. To you, O God of my fathers, I give thanks and praise, for you have given me wisdom and power. Even now you have made known to me what we requested of you, for you have made known to us the king's matter." Again, look at all the praise and reverence and glory that Daniel gives to God for providing wisdom. And as James says, writes in chapter James 1:5, "If any of you lacks wisdom, let him ask of God, who gives generously and without reproach, and it will be given to him." Now, I understand this day and age, most of the decisions and most of the problems that we have are not life and death. And that's okay, because if we can respond to the challenges and problems of this world by seeking wisdom from God first and seeking counsel from others that walk with God, then not only can we overcome those challenges and demonstrate the superiority of a life walking and seeking wisdom from God, but when those bigger issues do arise, we'll be prepared to face those as well. So I do have, as we wrap up, a couple of challenges to my audience today. Number one, if you're enjoying this content, I would love to hear from you. Either leave a comment or email me at menatworkministry@gmail.com. Please share this video and subscribe to the YouTube channel. I'd be honored if you would do that for me. The second challenge is, do you have somebody that you are reading scripture with, whether it's a spouse, a trusted friend, colleagues from work, or maybe even others from the church that you attend? Please start reading, discussing, dissecting scripture with other believers. That's what we're doing in Men at Work right now. We've changed to start meeting every single Friday, and we're currently going through the book of Matthew. And we'll read a chapter, and then we'll spend 90 minutes discussing, maybe debating sometimes, but really rolling up our sleeves and digging into the Word. And that's my challenge to you. Just make sure you're doing that. So I can't wait to get back next week and read the second half of Daniel chapter 2 so we can see how this wisdom plays out in the lives of Daniel and Nebuchadnezzar. Thanks.